Welcome back for another installment of Fellowship of the Rink, brought to you by our incredible local friends in Waggle Golf, 9 Mile Brewing, and Beer Theory Beer Company. I think I said Beer Theory there, whatever. With me, as always, later in the show will be Joe Smith. Right now, we got producer Isha stepping in as Joe, very tied up with all the festivities going on out there in Vegas around the team. And we actually have him and Vegas coverage and goalie whisperer Jesse Granger coming in to talk game one, looking forward in the series. Some fun topics mixed in as well. But Isha, let's just start here with, seemed like you got some pretty good traction last night in your watch-alongs. Were the people pretty rowdy? Like, what was the vibe from people chiming in? Like, are we happy with how the game went?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly positive for sure. Like, I would say that even some of the known negative Nancy's in our chat had like nothing really bad to say up until that one spot, which like Z, yourself, myself, all highlighted as like that 4-minute little blimp from, a pretty good night from the Minnesota Wild, where they essentially matched the play of Vegas. Other than that one little, that one little area of the game. So I would say overall, to answer your question, positive. And I think everyone is more calm going into game two, despite the loss. I think everyone thought they'd be, sharpening the pitchforks, calling up their friends from Vancouver, going, all right, how did you guys do this? No, but in all seriousness, it was, I think, overwhelmingly positive.
Do we think that the first line can stay intact? Or do we need to spread the wealth and not let them... Because get into it with Jesse Granger, but the line matching wasn't even exactly there. As soon as they do that, it's going to be a lot harder for Boldy to pop 2 goals.
Yeah, I don't think they need to yet, but Hines has all season been okay with even just making some adjustments in game, giving a few shifts here and there, and then being like, if there's no spark, okay, we'll go back to like what has been working or what I'm comfortable with or what we've been, extensively planning for. So I think we might see some looks. I'm not sure if we see many in game 2, but it wouldn't surprise me if even started the line shuffled, and if he doesn't see what he wants to see out of, whatever line pairing, then he could go back to what has, somewhat worked in that first game.
Any like major takeaways from you, or is this largely what you were expecting to see from both teams?
Okay. So like high level, yes, I felt like if the Wild played their best hockey, this would be what we saw, right? They would have to match the goals of Vegas regardless, but if they can keep Vegas scoring less than 4 or 5, which still debatable if that 4th one was a goal last night. Right. But seriously, if they can keep the game, if they can keep Vegas from scoring 4 or 5 goals, they can get 2 out of Boldy. They should be getting some production out of Kaprizov. Foligno could get one. Eck could, like, they have options out there that they're healthy now that they actually have some depth in the lineup. But if they get into an actual firefight with these guys, it's not going to happen. Like, even if the defense falls out from both of them, Vegas is still going to win that. Once one of they'll find the cracks like last night Hurdle did, right? Hurdle found that literally an inch of space, it seemed like, when the game was at its tightest early on. So I still have a lot of faith in Gus. I don't think he played a bad game, but he's going to have to play great games now the rest of the series.
Loyal SodaPod listeners, if you're in the South Metro or just need to explore some new breweries, head to Bloomington's first and only tap room, 9 Mile Brewing. Some of my favorite beers on tap right now are Current Obsession, 9 Mile's flagship New England IPA, and Harness the Dark, their Imperial Rye Porter aged in J. Carver rye whiskey barrels, brewed in collaboration with J. Carver for their 3rd anniversary party just this last month. 9 Mile will be hosting bingo every Thursday, with 2 blackout games starting at $500 and one progressing up to as much as $1,000. How about across the league? So we got Winnipeg taking a 1-0 lead at the time of recording. We've got Avalanche 1-0 time of recording. We've got Carolina 1-0, and we've got Toronto with a decisive win 1-0. Do you have any changed opinions on any of those series? Whether it's like I'm flipping which team I picked, or oh my gosh, I said 5 or 7, and I'm gonna flip flop that. Any real epiphanies? I
obviously, and this might be biased, but no, I honestly thought the Toronto game would be a little bit closer. I hate Max Domi right now, but I do, because like what a beauty. But anyways, yeah, that one I didn't think game 1 would look like that. Let's just say that I thought the score would be a lot closer, a lot like if there's going to be a lot of antics. I thought the Blues looked better than I expected in game 1. Jets got away with one physical. I'm excited for that series. That's it's gonna be an amazing one.
That series for me, game 2 is huge, and I don't even care who wins the game. I need to see if Hellebuck can be Hellebuck, because he was not Hellebuck in that game. No. And if he can be Hellebuck, this is Winnipeg's series. But
this is Winnipeg's year. It's like
if he keeps being what we saw in that game, they could still win the series, but I would definitely be I'd be pretty heavy on the Blues if we're going to see this version of Hellebuck moving forward.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, the Avs are just going to continue to steamroll Dallas.
Do you think they really steamrolled them though?
Okay, maybe that's too harsh. I thought Dallas's. I thought Ottinger, like he played overall pretty good.
He got out goalied.
He got out goalied for sure, but it just didn't seem like he had a lot of help.
No, but
and he doesn't right now. They're being held together by friggin' glue, and half their big guns are gone. So
there were some fluky goals. There were some opportunistic goals. I picked Avalanche in 5. I think they're the better team. That game 1 gave me way more faith than Dallas Stars.
Yeah, the first period, I think, call it adrenaline, call it playoff vibes. I thought Dallas was there, but like as the game went on, it was like it's like they were falling down the mountain, man. The Avalanche was getting bigger and faster, and I feel like that's how the series is going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sweep. Maybe Dallas catches them in one game. I think Dallas will have some good periods down in the series, but I don't think they'll have a good, full game.
Fair.
And yeah, I mean the Devils is kind of the same thing. Like Devils are just happy to be there, and Jacob Markstrom seemingly every year becoming more and more like Ron Hextall, which hey, I'm all right with.
Accidentally chopping the Hughes brother.
Let's get
into that, dude.
He almost. Good thing he didn't land clean. I mean, man, he was literally chopped him in half.
The Hughes brothers, Isha. Did you see one GM Jim Rutherford's press conference? And yes, he is the GM. I don't care what anyone says.
I haven't seen him talk yet, but I watched all the player ones. I didn't like the Brock Besser one, let me tell you.
Nope. Well, this one's even more fun. Might get slapped in the wrist for borderline tampering. Came out and said re-signing Quinn Hughes is like the utmost priority for them.
Yeah,
has to get done. And he's like, but part of that's out of our hands because he wants to play with his brothers. He's made that very clear. But that also could be very much in our hands if we were to add them. And like at the end, he's like, I suppose I shouldn't say any more on this. I don't want to tamper. Like,
holy shit, Jack Hughes Pedersen.
The Devils are going to lose their minds over him, even like suggesting that in front of.
Oh man, the media is Matt Sakaris and crew are so happy that he dropped that because they're like, oh, we didn't know what the hell we're just going to talk about here, and the cloud that is Brock Besser leaving. Damn, holy. Well, if they somehow can get Jack, they're getting the other one. Maybe not.
You're not doing one.
No, I know. Oh my God, could you imagine? We go from Swedish twins to like 3 American brothers.
I just think this is bad for you because now that that's out there, Devil's like, oh yeah, you want to play this fucking game? Okay.
Bro, if that happens though, like fuck it, United States, you can be the 50, like you can have it. You can have us 51st state. If Vancouver can get all those, I will trade that. I will trade the country for 2 Hughes brothers.
That is a good trade proposal. We will trade Canada for the Hughes brothers.
They lived in Toronto a lot. They're honorary Canadians. They grew up in
You
Toronto.
said that Toronto's basically not Canada.
I mean, honorary Canadians.
Okay. On that too, news just broke before recording this. Elliot Friedman claims that Dan Bylsma will be relieved of his duties 1 year in with the Seattle Kraken. That is,
I feel so bad for Dan, man. He worked his way back up, crushed it in the AHL. And like there were teams who wanted him and he, decided to stay with the organization. And now he's let go. I mean, maybe the game the NHL game is past Dan Bylsma at this point, but I always loved him as a coach. I know you're a Pittsburgh guy, so you probably have like a little bit more of an affinity for him, given that he won you. Oh
yeah, I got a soft spot, and
yeah,
it's a weird predicament because I was not high on Seattle this year. Granted, they definitely still underperformed whatever expectations were, and the contracts they handed out last summer, I was like, I was appalled. I thought those were such horrible contracts. Again, nothing against the players. They're good players. And further to that point, like they were the only good players on the team this year. Like those two performed and defended their contracts for this year. But now you have those for, 6 or 7 years each. And I don't see the grass getting a whole lot greener. And I was a defender of Ron Francis. Like I thought he did a great job building the base for where the Carolina Hurricanes are today. He's really been confusing me with how he's tried to build this roster. I don't get it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So should the team have done better? Sure. But like, it's a flawed roster. Plain and simple. Yeah. I don't know who you're planning on bringing in to replace him. And it just very unexpected news, even with how it went. I figured it'd be, hey, here's a speed bump here, but maybe something happened behind the scenes we don't know about, or there's just like he's already lost the team. I don't know, but
I don't. Isn't North Dakota's coach taking some meetings right now? I read that like Blackhawks high on him. Maybe Seattle's now getting
Bradbury.
Yeah.
Oh, all I've been seeing about the Blackhawks is David Carl.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's rumor mill now time, anyways. So. But maybe they want to go down the college route again. That didn't work out the first time, but
someone pulled the Mark Lazarus. Remember how he basically said like, "Oh yeah, Kaprizov said he'd love to play in Chicago," and then had to like walk it back. I'm seeing all these posts being like, who could be like a top candidate for the New York Rangers to pursue as their new head coach? Mike Sullivan, who is very much under contract and has no plans of leaving Pittsburgh. It's like, yeah, you know what? The Penguins actually are looking to add to their center depth. Perfect guy for them to pursue would be Alexis Lafreniere. Like, what are we doing here? That's just reckless reporting. It's weird. Now to say, blogging. If he becomes available, maybe this is a guy is different than they should pursue Mike Sullivan. Like, you can't do that.
No, that's just like people spitballing on a podcast, but in written form on a. Well, see, this is why we need to go back to the forum days, Hoppy. Shout out to the hockey forums.
Dear Lord, yeah.
The good old days. Because now everyone thinks everything is fact on Twitter and Instagram.
If it's on the internet, it's real.
Yeah. If it's on The Athletic, it's real, though. Shout out to Joe Smith.
I mean, shout out to Joe, Jesse, Russo, everyone. I mean, the coverage has been unmatched, and we're only a couple days in. Anyone that's not already subscribed to The Athletic, your loss. Like, I don't even know if there's anything for me to pitch to you right now because you probably can't keep up with this, but
especially in this market, like I would say Minnesota is spoiled with the coverage with Joe Smith and Russo from The Athletic. Not to mention just all the great hockey writers out there. I feel like The Athletic's hockey team right now is great, like all around the country.
No, it's very strong. And I would even argue that, like, let's say you just want to like dip your toe in the water and like see, because you either were a subscriber in the past and didn't think you got your worth, or you're new to it all together, going along for the playoff run is awesome. There's going to be a lot of news and rumors coming up now with, the draft approaching, with free agency coming. Like, I'd basically say through that first week or two of July, have a subscription. It's like $3 a month. Come on. And if you don't like it, then okay, maybe it's just not the right fit for you for the rest of for like the normal season. But if you get through that span, you're like, oh shit, this is nice. Great. Subscribe long term.
Yeah, like you're gonna buy the Hockey News draft guide anyways. That's like $5 hard copy paper at the freaking gas station now. So you might as well just buy the.
You are literally the only person who buys that.
Yeah, they don't even sell it here. I have to order it online.
Weird bit. But yeah, everyone follow along, especially Wild fans listening, which I know is the biggest demographic we've got.
99.9%.
Russo and Joe are crushing it with both like gamers and just individual stories throughout. So don't sleep on it. Speaking of which, let's get it over to a couple monsters from the Athletic. Joe Smith, Jesse Granger talking Vegas versus Minnesota. This interview is brought to you by our friends at Waggle Golf. Waggle Golf believes what you wear on the course should reflect your individuality, who you are, where you're from, your hobbies, interests, and passions. All the stuff that makes you, well, you. That's why every design is inspired by the desire to create a piece of apparel that strikes a chord when you see it, that makes you say, wow, that was made for me. Because in a lot of ways, it was. Ready to get your waggle on? Go to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10 at checkout to take 10% off your entire order. All right, fresh off the heels of a pretty eventful game one between the Vegas Golden Knights and Minnesota Wild, we have full coverage here from The Athletic. We've got Jesse Granger representing Vegas, and I mean, just the most unique form of human that is an NHL goaltender. And Joe Smith, as always, covering the Wild. Guys, I don't know where we want to start. I'll just step back and to the two of you that were there for the opening presentation, saw the game live, saw the players post game. Like, what's your initial reaction to how game one played out?
Well, I just think how like tight checking everything was, and like there was literally no, for as fast as the game was, there was really no space out there, especially getting in the inside, and it seems like they'll take a lot for a penalty to be called on either side, and so that'll be, I think, a pretty big adjustment. I mean, I guess Vegas is one of the least penalized teams in the league, right? So I guess they're used to it. But this will be a 5-on-5 series, pretty much. I mean, onus will be on the Wild or in Vegas to find ways to score that way. And, each team got a power play last night, and Vegas took advantage, and that's probably a big reason why they won.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching all the reaction on Twitter. Obviously, it's the playoffs, so now the whole hockey world is watching. Whereas, like, I've been watching the Golden Knights all year, and seem like every Golden Knights game I've ever seen all year. They're not just the least penalized team in the league. They're the first team in the history of the NHL to take less than 200 penalties in a season, I believe. They also got the fewest power play opportunities this season. There just aren't penalties in these games, and it's been that way all year. And I feel like every game there are a couple that you could point to here or there. Like obviously the Hartman cross check to the face by Nick Hague is the obvious one. That pretty much everybody would agree that is a penalty. But yeah, Golden Knights games have been this way all year. There aren't a lot of penalties going either way. I will say I totally agree with there's just no ice out there. I think both these teams are playing very risk-averse hockey. They're not turning the puck over. They're not trying to force things through the neutral zone. And I said before the series, like, I think this is going to be a waiting game. And whatever team can be more patient and not run out of patience and try to force plays is going to win the game. And I thought last night, neither team got impatient. I thought both teams stayed to their structure. They didn't try to force passes that weren't there through the neutral zone. We saw hardly any odd man rushes either way. The one was Brett Howden barreling down the left side, and he ended up scoring that goal that became the game winner, but almost no transition chances. And that's pretty much both these teams' style. I think we're going to see a lot of games like this where it's going to be hard to find offense.
And you look at, since, it'll be such a tight series and goals were at a premium, like where do you take from the the goaltending last night. Of course, I thought both goalies made some terrific saves. Look at Gustafsson save on Eichel, kept it a 2-1 game. The one he didn't see, said he didn't see the one the power play because Theodore froze him a little bit. But overall, how do you goaltending matchup last night?
Yeah, I thought they both played pretty well. Neither was amazing, but I thought they were both solid. I thought Adin Hill had a slight edge, and that's why his team ends up winning by a goal. The first goal that Hertl scored was a tough play. I did tweet out kind of criticizing Gustafsson a little bit by using the RVH in that situation, but we're talking splitting hairs, and sometimes in the NHL, splitting hairs is the difference between a save and a goal. And I thought that instead of dropping into the RVH there, if he would have kind of overlapped his post and just come out a couple extra inches, then you can still drop into butterfly and still get down and cover the ice the way he wanted to. But you would have had that extra depth, and I think that corner probably wouldn't have been there, and it would have hit him in the shoulder. But that is a very minute criticism of a goalie in a split-second decision. It's also not a play that developed, right? Like, as a goalie, like, you're reading the play, it's developing. It just happened right in front of him. Like, Hertl stole the puck, and all of a sudden you've got a guy right in your face about to shoot. So that is a criticism, but a very minor one. I thought Gustafsson, to me, is just so technically sound. He is as technically sound of a goalie as there is in the NHL. His lateral movement, he can't explode real quick from side to side. I think you can get him moving. You can score on him, but he is just very, very rarely in a bad position. And that's why that power play goal by Dorofeev was such a shocker. Like, you hardly ever see that much net open playing against Gustafsson, but it was just a combination of Hertl screening him at the perfect time, and Theodore with a phenomenal stick fake. I mean, he held that that wind up so long. Like, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure the goalie sees this is a shot. He held that thing up and then just slid it right over. It was a beautiful play by Theodore. It's hard to fault the goalies for many of the goals last night.
And you mentioned Gustafsson being technically sound. I'm pretty sure a lot of Swedish goalies are technically sound too, the way they came from the schooling there. But just overall, you read him as a goalie. Like, this is obviously a guy who's grown into the Wild number one of the present, and very well could be the future. You have a guy 27 years old in his prime of his career. Like, where is he kind of this part of his career, and as he tries to make the ascent into, one of the top goalies in the league?
Yeah, he's very good. I think he's like mid-tier. I think he's definitely an above average starting goalie in the NHL. I wonder if he has it in him to be like elite, like a Vezina caliber goal. Like we saw early in the year, he was putting up Vezina numbers. It faded a little bit as the season went on, and that obviously coincided with Minnesota losing a bunch of their top players in front of him. But I just don't know if he's quite athletic enough to be like what Sorokin and Shesterkin and Vasilevsky and these guys do. Hellebuck's obviously not as athletic as those guys, but he's a special mind. That guy reads the play like no other human being on earth. So I have a hard time comparing anyone to him, but yeah, I think he's a very, very good goalie who may have a capped ceiling. Like, I think maybe like the 10th or 9th or 8th best goalie in the league might be his ceiling. I could be wrong. There are guys that overcome like that aren't the most athletic guy ever. Henrik Lundqvist is a great example. You can be elite without being super athletic, but yeah, that's how I see Gustafsson. It's just a really solid goalie who's always in the right positions. Like, he is the goalie that goalie coaches love. Like, when you're trying to teach a young goalie, show them film of Philip Gustafsson. He's in the right positions. He's square to the puck at all times. And to me, that's why his rebound control is so good. Before this series, I was looking up and I noticed that like Minnesota, I think 4th fewest rebound goals this season against, and the fewest rebound shots against. And I think that's a massive, I think Gustafsson is a huge, huge reason for that. He absorbs pucks well. He deflects them into the corners well. And when he doesn't, and the puck bounces into a dangerous area, the speed where the puck comes off of his body, the speed he gets to square to that puck and just follows it off of his body is really impressive. He just does all the little things right.
Well, and you look at this Vegas team, obviously you got one of the hotter teams in the league after the 4 Nations break. A lot of guys who were on that team from the Cup team few years back. Like, how is this group different maybe from that group that won the championship in terms of how they play, or just kind of the makeup of the group?
Yeah, I mean, they're very similar. There aren't too many changes to the lineup, but I will say that like Jonathan Marchessault was the big piece from that team. And like, obviously he wins the Conn Smythe. He scored every single time for 7 years. If the Golden Knights absolutely need a goal in the worst way possible, he was the guy to do it. So it's not just the number of goals he scored. It's like that dude was always the guy in the big moments. So you lose him, and who's it going to be? And they have plenty of talent to take that over with Jack Eichel and Mark Stone. Tomas Hertl's been huge this year, but Pavel Dorofeev has really stepped into that role. And it was an interesting storyline coming into these playoffs because this is his third year in the NHL. The first season, 2 years ago, he came in and kind of established himself as an every night guy down the stretch. I think he played in like 14 of the last 15 games. And then the playoffs got here and Cassidy benched him. He was a young guy. Cassidy didn't really trust him that much. He did not play a single game in the playoffs on the way to the Cup run. Then next year, he played in the NHL basically all season long, and then the playoffs got here, and Cassidy scratched him again. He ended up playing one game in that Dallas series, and he only played 7 minutes that night, and then he came right back out of the lineup. And it was clear that Cassidy, while he likes his shooting and he likes the offensive threat, he wasn't quite there to trust him along the walls and with the rest of the game. So coming into this season, it's like, well, obviously you're not going to bench the 35 goal scorer, your leading goal scorer, but how much will Cassidy trust him and how well will he play in the playoffs? And I thought he was good last night all over the ice. He obviously scores that goal. He didn't have to do much there, just hit the net, but it's a good monkey to get off his back so that 5 games from now, we're not in there asking him, wow, Pavel, you haven't scored a goal in the playoffs. Is it harder to score in the playoffs? It's nice to get that out of the way and not have to worry about that narrative building. So it was a great game for him. I think this team is good. I would say it's probably not quite as good as the team from 2 years ago. I think Petrangelo's 2 years older and he's a stud, and he's not quite, I don't think he's quite at the level he was 2 years ago, but he's still good enough to obviously play big minutes. But yeah, I think this is a really good, deep Golden Knights team without many obvious flaws.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Carlson talked post game yesterday. You mentioned trust, and John Hynes showed a lot of trust in Zeev Buium for a rookie 19-year-old in his first NHL game in a playoff game in the last 90 seconds of a game on a 6-on-5 situation, and that's said a lot about him and about the coaching staff too. I mean, obviously, if you're going to play this kid, you might as well play him where his strengths are. But that play that kind of sealed the game was the pass that him to Boldy, and Carlson got in the passing lane there. You've covered Carlson for a while now. Is that something he does, I'm sure, a lot of times, just his reads in his career, or like what do you make of that play as it finished the game?
Yeah, that's as William Karlsson of a play as he makes. I mean, the guy is so trusted in the defensive zone. He's been that way his whole career. He was that way in Columbus before Vegas got him in the expansion. But back then, that's all he did. That's why Columbus wanted Vegas to take him in the expansion draft. Was it's like, well, he's a good, solid defensive fourth line center. He's obviously developed into much more of an offensive threat in Vegas, but he still has that defensive game. He's one of their best penalty killers. He's always out there at end of game situations when you're protecting a goal, I'm interested in seeing how Cassidy uses him moving forward, because you talking to Golden Knights players and talking to Cassidy after the game last night, the one thing that's very clear in terms of, like, you can always kind of tell what they just talked about in the room because everyone is parroting it, and everyone mentioned how dangerous that top line is. And they thought that they didn't do particularly well against the Kaprizov line. Like, they felt that line got the better of them, and that's the biggest focus moving forward is we have got to be aware when that line's on the ice, and we've got to do better against them. I went back and looked at who Kaprizov was playing against. Obviously, Cassidy controls the matchups a little easier at home, and it was surprisingly there wasn't really a matchup. Like, the Karlsson line played against him a little bit. The Eichel line played against him a little bit. The fourth line with Nick Waugh and Keegan Kolesar played quite a few minutes against him. So they didn't seem to be matching up at all. That is curious because in the past series, Vegas has really matched up hard, especially like I remember back to the Oilers series. Connor McDavid didn't touch the ice without William Karlsson out there. Like, it was every single time, to the point where Chris Knobloch was actually starting to avoid putting McDavid on the ice if Karlsson was out there first, which is absolutely crazy to even fathom, avoiding David on the ice. But that's how good of a shutdown center William Karlsson was. They felt, in order to get McDavid going, we've got to get him away from that Karlsson line. So I think that if Kaprizov keeps playing, he only had one shot, but it seemed like every time the puck was on his stick, it was dangerous. He obviously had 2 brilliant passes. I wouldn't be surprised if Karlsson ends up being kind of following him around moving forward and seeing if they can get that matchup to try to calm that line down. That's one of the like chess matches in this game that I'm looking forward to in game 2.
Well, and then as he puts some onus on other guys, the Wild, to step up too, because like clearly the offense was spearheaded by Kaprizov's brilliant pass on the Boldy goal, and then Boldy was just terrific. I thought continuing his play down the stretch of just being so engaged and physically around the net. So it'll put onus, I think, on the Wild's other guys, whether it's Hartman, who saw elevated up, Foligno, or the Johansson and Zuccarellos, because there wasn't much maybe offense beyond that group, I think, last night. And you're only going to get one power play a game. You can't rely on that one going forward.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be tough. I mean, it seems like a goal here or there is going to be the difference in every game.
What did you see, Jesse? Because you said like kind of the same team you've watched all year. We don't want to overanalyze one game, but that's the business we're in. Like, did you see anything concerning on the Vegas side? Something you're like, oh, this is something I really want to see them fix.
Yeah, I mean, early in the game, they were really slow breaking the puck in their zone. It just seemed like their feet weren't going, and I don't know if that's the case of they sat some guys the last 2 games of the regular season to give them a break. That could have been just them being a little rusty, like not in game shape. But I think that at times this year, when Vegas has struggled to score, it's when their transition offense dries up. Like, this team is so good in transition with Eichel and Stone and Carlson and Smith and Barbashev and Hurdle and Dorofiev. They have so many guys that are great in transition. When you can limit the transition chances and shut down the rush game, that's when this team can struggle to score. Is like, now Hurdle did a great job of manufacturing that goal, but for the most part, that is to me where, like, if you're trying to beat the Golden Knights, it's don't give them anything in transition and force them to find ways to score with sustained zone time. And I thought Minnesota did that well. So if you're looking at how can Minnesota win this series, like, well, that's how, and they literally did it in that game. They were 1 goal away from being right there. So I think that the fact that Minnesota was able to not turn the puck over and not give up, like I can't even remember a bad turnover for the Wild, like really in the neutral zone the entire game, that led to anything going the other way. So the fact that they were able to execute that, and both teams knew that was going to be the game plan going in, so they did it. I thought that they proved that they could absolutely play with this Vegas team and play the style of hockey that can win games against them. It fell just a little short, and that's. This Golden Knights team, they've been doing it for a while. They find ways to win. Like when you play into their style and it's 6-7, they'll win, or they can play your style and they'll still find a way to win. They win with their C game more than any team in the NHL. And that's why they end up winning the division every year. It's like they just win with their C game so many times. And I'm not saying last night was their C game. They were definitely better than that, but they weren't at their best and they weren't necessarily playing the style that suits them best. And I still thought that they found a way to win. And that's just kind of what this team does.
Yeah. And I for both of you, maybe this is a weird comment, but I feel like this is the first time that I've watched a game one, and obviously you feel better if you win, but do we have a game where both teams came out feeling better than they did going into game one, just with how they both played and executed?
I think they certainly might. I mean, Jokin, he was in the room. He can give the Wild side, but I thought it was a very competitive game.
Yeah, I think that's what Philip Gustafson said post game. He's like, we were right there with them to the end, and that's how it's going to be the rest of the series. Like, obviously, they were disappointed and frustrated they lost because they felt that they left something out there, right? They felt like they played well enough, like you say, to get a point or two. You felt you play well enough to win, or felt enough to get there, and they did a lot of really good things right. They were committed. Their forecheck was there. Their top players, delivered in a certain way with Boldy and Kaprizov. Got some key saves from Gustafson. Clearly, the penalty kill, which has been an issue all year, that cost them on that power play goal, which was the difference. But like you said, there's maybe a couple odd man rushes last game. They didn't give up a ton. Maybe the Howder one, maybe one other one. The breakaway by Eichel, of course. But overall, I think they played the kind of game they needed to play in order to beat Vegas, right? A quality game one on the road. Now, it wasn't the win like they had 2 years ago in Dallas when they double overtime victory and Gustafson had 52 saves. That was just a different element. But I think that should give them confidence going into game 2 and the rest of the series. Like, if they play this kind of hockey and maybe, get one extra save or one extra shot that goes in or one extra deflection, that they're not that, as much as they made the playoffs by the skin of their teeth with 20 seconds left of their season, like, this is not a team that's, when they're healthy, like an 8th seed. It feels like they have a little more in them than that, or a 7th seed. I'm sorry, but so I think you're right. I think both teams, Vegas feels good because they won, and obviously they found a way with their B or B- game to win, and the Wild showed they know the recipe now. Like, this is the recipe that could probably get us there. And then obviously I think Zeev Buium, playing his first NHL game, first game in 10 days, I think this will be a step forward for him eventually here. Now that he's had that on the nerves out of the way and can see the speed of the game and see how things are different, that only help him maybe to be a difference maker later in the series if they continue to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And want to go through go through this with both of you. Joe, we'll start with you. What's the key going into game 2 for the Wild?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of generating a little bit more offense besides their top line, right? Like they're good in the forecheck other groups, but you saw some line shuffling as the game went on. Ryan Hartman got elevated instead of Freddie Gaudreau, and you kind of seen kind of mixing and matching. But I think that is going to be a huge thing, and that because you know that they're going to key up on Kaprizov and Boldy won't have 2 goals every game. So finding that offense, and obviously the face-off circle, which is something that the Wild have had issues with, cost them on a couple of the goals there. You lose a draw. Interference or not on Vegas on the power play goal. They still losing some key draws, and that's where you can lose games when you have those key moments. So overall, I think they did a lot of things right. They're not going to play a perfect game as far as not take a penalty. They got one last game. So I think overall, just trying to find a way to generate a little bit more 5 out of 5. That's the kind of game we have to play the rest of the way.
Yeah, and Jesse, before we get into keys for Vegas, the Hartman penalty, like you said, like pretty black and white, just missed call. A little bit more controversy, especially on the Twitter around the face-off in question. Is that playoff hockey, or is that something that, like, roles reversed, you would have wanted to see called on Minnesota?
I get why people, especially if you're a Wild fan, are going to want that penalty because it looks like a penalty. They're tied up. I personally didn't have a problem with it. I thought that, I think that yes, it was technically interference by the rule, but I think that if you called interference every time 2 guys tied up longer than a second after the faceoff, you just call interference calls all night long. Cassidy even said after the game, Hertl played it exactly how he told him to. Face off, tie up, straight to the net, and he screened the goalie. So I think it made it worse because it was Gaudreau, right? That was tied up with Hertl. I think what made it worse was Gaudreau. It looked like their sticks were tied up, and it looked like Gaudreau tried to jump over the sticks and tripped himself, essentially. I didn't think that Hertl stuck his stick out and tripped him. I thought that the sticks were tied up. Gaudreau saw a lane and thought, if I just jump over these sticks, I'll be racing out to the point where I'm supposed to get to. And I think he tried that, and his foot just hit the sticks. That's how I saw it, at least on the replays. But yeah, I mean, I understand why anyone would say that's interference. They're clearly tied up. The puck's not there anymore. But I also see that play off of a face-off a million times, and it just happened to directly lead to a goal, so everybody focuses on it.
There's a lot of interference last night on both sides, but there's a lot of things you could have called interference. I think even like the Ek penalty, I think he was getting interfered with, and then he got his stick up, and then for the high sticking call. So we'll see if there's an adjustment in game 2. We'll see if maybe there's more calls in game 2, but it's something clearly I think players will have to kind of be conscious in their mind of maybe you can get away with something, or maybe this is kind of a style of play that's going to be allowed a little bit the rest of the way, and that could affect the way there's a forechecks going or battles in front of the net or anything like that.
Considering Vegas's power play was the best in the league all year, and I think they ended up finishing second because they were cold at the end of the year, but and Minnesota's penalty kill struggles the way it is, I feel like it's not a good thing for Minnesota if they start calling more penalties, because they're going to call them both ways. I think a 3 penalty game, it was really a 2 penalty game, the one at the end. But yeah, a 3 penalty game to me is more in Minnesota's favor than a 6 penalty game where each team gets 3 chances. At least that's how I see it.
Well, I think 5-on-5, you're right. I think they're happy with their 5-on-5 game, and their power play hasn't been great either down the stretch. They had moved to a 5-forward unit up until before they brought in Zeev too, so they were trying to tinker with things there. So yeah, I mean, I think most times if you're a good team, you're okay playing a lot of the things 5-on-5. It's more so of when it's just a 1-goal game, and sometimes your offense is drying up, and those power plays could be like that kind of the golden sun, okay, this is a chance that I don't think anybody wants a 7 penalty. I don't think the writers want 7 penalties. I don't think fans want 7 penalties. I just think overall, when there's certain plays that are egregious or perceived egregious or make a difference on a play like a goal, which is why Hines was upset about the no call interference on the face-off play, because that directly within 6 seconds was in the back of their net.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, Jesse, before we get to our final question here, what do you see as the key for Vegas then going into game 2?
Just staying patient on the back end. I thought that the defense the defensemen did a great job moving puck up the ice, especially better as the game went on. I think maybe the first 10 minutes, as I mentioned, they were a little slow moving their feet, breaking the puck out of the zone. But I think that as long as Vegas isn't turning the puck over across their own blue line, trying to get out of there, they're going to be, I mean, their defensive structure is so good when everyone's in the zone and it's a sustained zone possession and they get set in their zone defense. It is so difficult to get to the middle of the ice. You just see shots from outside and it makes Adin Hill's life easy and he makes a ton of saves and he doesn't give up many rebounds either. And it's just so hard to score on them. Where they get into trouble is when they start trying to force plays, trying to get that trend. Like I mentioned, they're so good in transition and they've got such good puck movers on the back end with guys like Theodore and Pietrangelo and Hannafin that they want, like it's in their DNA to try to make those plays. But Bruce Cassidy is just trying to trying to tell them not to constantly. That's like the battle of this team, basically. If they can stay patient like they were in game one, not force those plays, I think the Golden Knights are going to win this series. If they start to get impatient, if Minnesota can start to pressure them a little more on the forecheck and start making them make quicker decisions, that's where, to me, if you told me how does this series go sideways for Vegas, that's it right there. It's poor puck management by the defense, breaking out of the zone, trying to make too many long flashy passes to spring that transition offense.
Nice. So let's talk golf.
All
Confirm
right.
or deny? Rumor has it Jesse Granger's a stick.
I'm not too bad. I'm a solid golfer.
Off the tee, we've heard there's some pretty legendary stories and some athletic golf outings that you paid off the tee a little further than maybe, let's say, a Scott Wheeler or a Ian Mendez or somebody like that, you know.
Yeah, I got out there with Mark Lazarus and Ian Mendez, and yeah, I do hit the ball a long way. It's a big advantage.
Is it straight?
Yeah, it was going straight that day. Some days it's straighter than others, but yeah, I can hit it a long way. It's a big advantage. I absolutely love golf. I had never swung a golf club until the pandemic in 2020, and I've played hockey my whole life, and I just thought golf looked like boring. And my dad's a golfer. My dad had been trying to get me into golf for so long, and I wouldn't do it. I'm like, no, I'm a hockey player. And then the pandemic happens, and it's like, okay, well, the only way you're allowed to leave your house is if you go play golf on the golf course. I'm like, all right, I'm in. So I go out there, literally one round, and I am obsessed with it. I'm dedicating the rest of my life to being good at this stupid sport. I absolutely love it. I basically play once a week ever since then, and I go to the range another 3 or 4 times a week. I just love hitting golf balls. It's so much fun.
Dang. I'm jealous that you've picked it up that quick because it took me about that long to lose it, and I can't get it back.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you think you've got it figured out. That's the worst thing ever because it's like, oh, I figured it out. Look at it. It's great. Now tomorrow you will not have it figured out. It's going to be a disaster. And that's why everybody loves the game so much because you can't get good at it. It's like impossible, but it's so much fun. And when you hit that perfect shot, there's no better feeling.
It's like the one thing people do that they're bad at that continue to keep on doing over and over again, no matter if they are like, think about anything else you do in your life and you're like, I'm bad at this. I'm not going to do this anymore like that. Like, I'm not a handyman. I'm not going to start building shelves and stuff like that. Do you want to do that all the time? No, but if I'm not a great golfer, I'll still go out there and play. It's just like all you need is 1 or 2 good shots around, keeps you coming back, gives you that juice, like my grandfather said, and just when you come back. So, plus it's a beautiful thing to do in the Minnesota summers, which are God's gift, and it's starting relatively soon, we hope. So, but yeah, it's a fun pastime for all of us who aren't good at it but want to get better.
Final question brought to you as always by our good friends at Waggle Golf. First, make sure you head over to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10 to take 10% off your entire order. Jesse, I don't care if we're talking celebrities, athletes, dead or alive. Give me a fictional character if you want. Doesn't matter. 3 people you're taking out on the course with you for your dream golf foursome, and bonus points if you give the people the best place to golf in Vegas.
Ooh. So the place I went with Ian Mendez and Mark Lazarus is called Revere Golf Club, and it is gorgeous. I mean, there are a million good golf courses out here, and like there are courses better than that one, trust me. But for the price, if you're not trying to spend an insane amount of money, you want to play a really unique golf course, Revere is my favorite. That's kind of my go-to to take people to when they come out to Vegas to kind of get a taste of like something different that's not just your average golf course. Revere is awesome. As far as the foursome goes, so I'll start by saying Tiger Woods is in my foursome. I'm absolutely not going to pick, like, there's no way I could do this without picking Tiger Woods. And I will throw a shout out to your sponsor, Waggle. My favorite, I'm not wearing it right now, but my favorite golf hat I've ever owned is the Waggle Tiger. It's like a goat.
Yeah.
But it's got tiger stripes, and everybody always asks me, like, what the hell is this hat you're wearing? I absolutely love the goat tiger striped Waggle hat. So he's in my foursome. I'm going to go Patrick Waugh. I am a goalie. I grew up in Colorado. He's a legend, and he seems like a crazy person. So, anyone that crazy, golf, he's got to be an absolute lunatic. So, definitely Patrick Waugh, Tiger Woods. And then the other two, I'll go classic Vegas. I'll go Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. And for anyone listening, I don't know, maybe everybody knows this story. Maybe people don't. I don't know how, like, popular this story is outside of Vegas, but everyone who golfs knows the beverage cart, knows the beer girl coming around with the beverages, and not everybody knows how that actually started. And it was Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin in Vegas. They refused to play 18 holes unless they could get cocktails on the course. So at the time, I think it was the Desert Inn golf course, I want to say. They were like, well, I mean, these guys aren't going to play here unless we give them drinks during the round. So they literally, like, built a bar on the back of a golf cart and found a way to get the cocktails on there. And now you can't go to a golf course without finding a beverage cart. So Tiger Woods, Patrick Waugh, and the two guys that invented the beverage cart is my foursome.
They need to be heralded way more for this. More people need to hear this, because that's the only reason I can go out and golf. What's the go-to for you, Jesse, out on the course? Are you doing beers? Are you doing like a spiked Arnie Palmer? Do you have a different cocktail?
Yeah. Arnold Palmer's the way to go. Yeah. And some days it's spiked, some days it isn't. But either way, the Arnold Palmer's the way to go. Nice and refreshing. Plus, you get a little buzz if you drink a couple of them.
Yeah, you're on those. If you have those in your foursome and you have your full cards, I'll ride the beverage cart person. I'll ride with them. I'll ride a shotgun with them and just kind of follow around like that. So it's better than caddying. So, but yeah. But thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, like, the way that game one turned out, it could be maybe a longer series than people maybe anticipated, at least people at MGM thought. But we'll find out game two on Tuesday at, I think, local time, like 1 a.m. in Minnesota on Tuesday.
We do things late in Vegas, everybody. 8 o'clock is insane. And then you factor in the time zone difference. It's pretty wild that they're doing that. But
Gary Bettman hates the central time zone. We know it.
Anyways, well, thanks again. Good seeing you, and we'll see you at the Rink.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Isha, we got to wrap it up now the way that we do every week on Fellowship of the Rink. Keyboard Warriors, brought to you by our friends at Barrel Theory Beer Company. We are close to a wild home game. We got it coming up here this Thursday, and if any of you are fortunate enough to get in the rink, Section 105, Crowler of the Day, get in on that action. It is the best deal you're going to get. It's a $23 beer, but it is 25 ounces of premium IPA, delicious beer. Whereas I believe like a McGolden, 16 ounces is going to cost you 12. Double that and you get double the beer and a cool can. And it is objectively stronger and maybe not better, because to each their own. Like if you don't like IPAs, then yeah, don't do the Crowler of the Day. That's going to be a real bummer for you. But
man,
otherwise,
I should see if I can post up at Barrel Theory and maybe do the watch party from there.
I mean, that's certainly a move.
I mean, you guys have done recordings and streams from there before, and the internet's actually pretty good. So
internet's good. I just have no idea how rowdy it's going to be on a home game night.
The rowdier, the better. If we can get some hey, live reactions to everybody, we'll see. Maybe I might have to give a call or text to Timmy here in a bit.
You could probably swing something there. Yeah, we'll have to check in with Timmy. But to that point, whether or not Isha's streaming from there, you need to get there for pregame, postgame. If you aren't getting tickets to the game, make sure that you're hanging out there to watch, enjoy with friends, great beer. And if you want just the standard flagship IPA, don't want to commit to a 25-ounce Crowler, sections 112, 217, club level 36, Raindrops IPA.
This is what you do. You pick up the poutine from Tom Reed's and you go over to Barrel Theory, sit down, and you eat it and drink there.
It's low-key a good move, just down the road from Barrel Theory now, since Dark Horse closed, and I love that place right next door. I would go to Allery's, which now has like a full on like Texas barbecue joint.
I got to try that
within them. They have really good, like the brisket I thought was really good. I think that it was weird. They had like a peanut butter and jelly brisket sandwich or something. And it like sounds weird.
Some good burn ends too, I imagine.
But yeah, that is the best way to enjoy the game. But hot takes, Isha. I'm going to kick it off here with mine. And everyone's getting pretty rowdy and apparently mad at me that I'm just saying truthful things about how a lot of the money's already being allocated from the Suter.
Yeah, Sean Cosgrove in our chat was like, Hoppy's just a Debbie Downer today, isn't he? Like just trying to dampen the mood.
People are like trying to post and like be like overly happy and say, oh, look at this. We're going to have so much money next year. Like, no, not sure.
Well,
like,
explain yourself. Explain yourself.
You got to budget it. Well, we're not even going to get into that. My hot take is Kirill Kaprizov this summer will sign a $14,743,588 AAV contract.
I wish I had the soundbite that's like, the price is wrong.
Bitch. Why? Because one, that's in the range of what he's going to be paid. I've seen some people online coming at me saying he's going to make like 11 to 13 mil AAV. I'm sorry. That's just delusional. And if it happens, I will be thrilled to be wrong. I've been
saying 13 minimum all year.
But it puts him in the range, and it's also exactly the equivalent of the highest AAV hit from the buyouts of Parise and Suter. And I think that would be the greatest troll move ever. To be like, all right, this is what Kaprizov gets. We're good. You wipe his $9 million. That's basically been allocated to Brock Faber. Now we got our two cornerstones, and the salary cap's gone up. Let's go out and play and bring some people in. Like everyone thinks I'm saying like the future is like bad. Like, we got nothing to look forward to. I'm just being honest that money has largely been spoken for with other contracts that can kick in. There's still money to be spent, and we can absolutely do things to change the roster. But I don't want people to think like, oh my God, we can go out and bring in like 2 top 6 centers,
bidding for the top guys. No. You know what? This is best case Ontario because there's so many guys in the system who are like getting ready to come up. So it's like you almost have your guys that a lot of the fans want to go get in free agency, like coming up. You're developing them in-house. Like Ogren's almost ready. Now is he coming in like NHL ready, been playing for a few years? No, but like still I think can help this team. We don't know what Yurov is. Yurov can either be like, okay, he could be either one of those Russians who's just easy peasy, whatever, or there's going to be some time to obviously develop here as well. But those two you can be excited for. Obviously, Height's well in the pipeline now that the junior year is done. And having said that, there's going to be some money, not money to get the big fish, not money to get into these overpay bidding wars for the top guys, but to see, okay, this is what we have right now. Let's assume one of Ogren and Yurov work and they can be somewhere in the lineup. We need to go and get 2 second to third line affordable guys who, you know, like Jake DeBrusk in Vancouver, is going to perform to his contract and not be a Johansson of the team.
Being a Johansson of the team would actually be incredible right
overall,
now.
Like a guy who
he's
played well down the stretch. He's played well down the stretch, but you know what I mean? Like someone who you can just be like no one in Vancouver was bitching about Jake DeBrusk at all this year, right? It's just like they got him. He did what he was supposed to do. It is what it is. Now, there was other stuff. Maybe that's not the best example because there's other things going on. There. But still, like, yeah.
Fair. All right. Over to you. I know you had one from one of our pretty regular listeners on all of our shows.
Yeah. So Sean Cosgrove, and he actually was tweeting about this earlier today, but he's saying in our live chat that his hot take was that Rossi accepting an offer sheet from another team would actually benefit the Wild given the draft pick compensation coming back, which would be a first, second, and third round pick given that he's not signing for less than $7 million, I would say for the Wild or anywhere else.
Yeah, and the range for that compensation, for anyone that's not familiar with offer sheets, if you are a restricted free agent of a certain status, it's not even all RFAs, but if you're an RFA of a certain status, an offer sheet is when a team comes to you and says, here is the exact terms of a contract we will give you. if you are willing to come to us, should your team not match, this is what it is. Yeah. So the player has to agree. Like a team can't just come and offer sheet him and he's like, oh, bummer. Like he has to agree. But then if he does, the Wild are given a week to either match and give that exact carbon copy contract. No negotiating at this point. They can't go to him and be like, hey, we'd love to sign you, but let's do this. Nope. At that point, it's ultimatum. You either pay exactly what that team was going to pay, or you get draft pick compensation from them based on the actual AAV of the contract. So that there's a bunch of tier breaks, and the one that he is almost guaranteed to fall in if he actually does sign an offer sheet is the range of 6.8, a little bit more than that, 6.8 million though for simplicity, up to 9.1 million. There's no way someone's offer sheeting him for more. There's no way he's signing one for less. So he falls in this bucket. The compensation would be 2026 first, 2026 second, 2026 third. And there are currently 10 teams capable of doing that. Anaheim Ducks, Boston Bruins, Calgary Flames, Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit Red Wings, LA Kings, Montreal Canadiens, Nashville Predators, New Jersey Devils, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Seattle, I almost said Seahawks, Seattle Kraken, and the Utah Hockey Club.
All good spots for him. Like pretty much. Some great, but
there's several there that would make zero sense. Just saying. In what world do LA, Montreal, or New Jersey make any sense with
LA and Montreal not so much, but like the rest are
New
like
Jersey?
Well, New Jersey not, but
okay.
So
but no, a lot there that could. I'm going to disagree with Cosgrove entirely, which I usually don't, but I would be very upset with this compensation.
I mean, everyone knows I've been very vocal on my thoughts on Rossi. Now we got this is the sample size to see him in the playoffs. It was kind of quiet in game one. Let's continue to see how he does and see if Hines even gives him more rope. But
I think he gets traded before an offer sheet's even possible.
I feel like you can get more from a trade.
Yeah. And I mean, the writing's on the wall. Joe and Russo have made it very clear that he's gone. And not only just from the organization not knowing exactly what his fit is, given the current coach, Hines does not want anything to do with Marco Rossi. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he is starting game 2, fourth line center.
It's so crazy. They draft a young center. He has his first big year. And you can say like last year was a great year for him too, but like 60 points, still developing, played through injury, still performed, and it's like, we're already giving up on him.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, if it
not
is
Yakupov giving up on him, like giving up on him because he's not a fit, even though he's a good player.
Right. So. If a bad team is the one that offer sheets him, I'll change my tune a little bit because 2026 is a fun draft.
Yeah.
Both Z will be the first to tell you, like, that's going to be a flush one.
And like that's so much ammunition for Judd. Like,
yep. But would not be a fan. I would be pretty disappointed if that was the return that we got. So
it's okay that the Wild have their top center coming in Charlie Stramel, so we're good. Their first round center, another one
with Isaac Howard. Another hot take that we'll save for later. My last one then, and this one I had to save for when it was you and me doing this, because you are the one person who will definitely fight me the hardest on this, or if you don't, it's just that much more telling. Across all sports, let alone hockey, Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's goal record is like the craziest thing we've seen in quite some time. Agreed?
Oh, yeah.
My hot take, because it is the stat that everyone brings up regularly. What is the great Gretzky stat? Do you know? Okay. He has more assists than anyone in the NHL has points.
Right, yeah.
1,963 assists. Yep. That's absurd, right? I'm here to say that it is possible that Sidney Crosby gets more points than that, and that would be more impressive than Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's goal record, because I actually think that it's possible that Ovi will be beaten again. I don't think there's anyone else that's going to be in sniffing distance of passing Gretzky's assists in total points. Now, Still a lot of work to do to get there, but Crosby is absolutely on a path that if he stays healthy, he could do it. I think it's more impressive. You go ahead and tell me why you're ready to punch a wall.
I mean, if he matched the assists, it would be impressive.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
I know.
We'll never do that.
I like this. I like this as a hot take, and I like the argument. I still think, given how much easier, and I know relative dominance, Terry Ryan talks about all the time, but like at the end of the day, how much easier it was to score goals back when Gretzky was scoring goals compared to the eras in which Ovechkin played in. That's the biggest caveat that I think just is gonna win the argument. Is that like he was doing the near impossible in a more impossible timeline, and he still and he passed it. So I think that still reigns supreme. And if the Capitals win a cup this year, Ovechkin is just he wins the better player than Crosby
first round.
Overall. So just saying.
I don't know. Whenever it's like, people are always like, oh, by the way, did you know that not a single player in NHL history has more points than Gretzky has assists? Like, it just makes it a bigger talking point to me. And
well, it's one of those stats I love.
1963, he's going to get to 2000, which that would be
cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think it like maybe even elevates Crosby up to like the Mount Rushmore players. Right?
I already think he's there, but I'm biased.
Yeah. I think that would solidify it though. That would, you have to take one of the legends off and make room for Crosby.
That's tough too. The whole Mount Rushmore discussion, it's like, how do you compare a goalie to a player, a defenseman to a forward? Like, there's almost got to be
maybe this is a hot take. Maybe it's a hot take, and it'd be fun to have maybe like a goalie guy on, but like I don't think a goalie will ever and should ever be up there. But that's a conversation for another day. Like,
should have asked Jesse. Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, just with how we can go down this route. But I mean, just there's no one who even, and then some people are like, oh, Patrick, what? Like, no, like there was no one who even in that lane carved out or had a performance as amazing throughout their career as like the Lemieux, as the Gordie Howes, as
agreed.
Gretzky.
Agreed. What I would caveat is goalies get shafted. Like, there's been so many years that a goalie should win the Hart, but like they just are like, oh, they have their award. Like, just let them duke that out.
It wasn't as much back in like the 80s and 90s though.
I feel like they
got way more love.
It's an indictment on the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, I feel like, oh yeah, I think in this era I agree they get shafted, but I think like the 80s and 90s they didn't. Where again, like those were, I would say that they were. I'd say there's guys there that people would try to argue to be on the Mount Rushmore, but yeah, it's weird because you almost just have to like have its own category just because of just how impactful, you got to score to win sort of thing. I mean, I would love to go down the rabbit hole of goalies because I love talking goalies. I mean, I was talking about Kaprizov the other day because there's an MMA fighter who smokes regularly and is at the top of his game right now, and I was like, I just started talking about Kaprizov, and I was like, bro, he did it in his final season in the mid or late 2000s. Was still smoking in between games at the Saddle Dome. It was hilarious.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Barrel Theory, bringing the hot take segment every week. Not much else to say here. Just will tell you all, every game for the Wild for sure, maybe others, we'll see, but we will be live on the SodaPod YouTube channel. Come in, whether it's just banter with the other fans in the chat, whether it's tuning along for all the excitement with Isha, and I don't know, people apparently will throw money to him and he'll shotgun beers or something. It's quite the sight. But go out there, check him out, and at bare minimum, just throw a like on the page and then move on. Just helps us out.
Hey, we'll always take suggestions for fun poll questions throughout the stream too. We had a couple going last night, which were fun.
There you have it. But good luck, Wild. Big game 2 on the horizon here.
Good luck, Jim Rutherford. You can get it done.
Dude, I can't wait to see how that.
Oh my God, I am so giddy right now.
I need to see Wyshynski's reaction to that. He's gonna be so mad. All right, well, We will let you guys know. Again, it's going to be weird scheduling moving forward because Joe is going to be very active on the travel scene until the Wild are eliminated.
He would have been on this podcast if they were in Winnipeg. Let's be honest.
Mike, I'll just let you take this one. I know how much you love Winnipeg. I don't want to steal your shine.
Yeah, you can't even go swimming yet. It's still too cold there in the lakes.
What are you talking about? You've been swimming in the lakes for months.
Swimming is a stretch.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will catch you guys next week. Until then, stay classy, stay to hockey.